Welcome to the channel. We're going to install a DC to DC charger, and I'm going to go through step by step how to do this. The one I've picked is Renogy, but it's the same for any DC to DC charger. If it does help you out, stick us a thumbs up how to easily install a DC to DC charger. I will be converting an ex-Royal Mail Peugeot expert to travel the UK, Scotland, down south and Europe in the search of lost history, which will be on my partner channel, History Revisited. And if you want to come on this expedition with me, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, and notification button will give you first-hand indication of when videos go live. So yeah, welcome and thanks for watching. So what you're going to need, I've got some 16mm stranded cable. I've got 3 meters of that, and I'm going to protect it because I've got a 40 amp DC charger. I'm going to protect it with 50 amp fuses which go in the fuse carriers. All this is available on eBay, and some lugs, 8mm holes, because I can get them onto these buzz bars. There's a live neutral buzz bars. Obviously your Copex for the cable to run through, and an isolator, which this is rated at 600 amp. The run on my van is about 3 meters, so from here it's gone down the back of there, then comes out of here underneath. You see the Copex there, runs through the back under the seat, and then it comes out in the back of the van. The isolator and the DC to DC charger is going to be, I've done half of it in Copex, I just need to do the other half now. The Copex is there so that because of vibration the cable doesn't rub and over time make contact to the neutral of the structure of the van, causing sparking and fire risk. You can either put the Copex around the cable first, or put the cable in and then put the Copex in after that. So I'll get a bit of a measure on that first. About there. So I've come to the other part of the Copex, so I'm just going to tape that up where it joins. Down there, down the back. It is a bit long, this Copex, but I'm sure we'll be able to sort it out. Is that the road down? Yes. Bit of gentle persuasion. And behind the seat. And then we'll go around and grab it from the other side. There it is. So that's run down the back of the seats. I can just see the end in there, so I can cut that back so we can terminate that end. I can't find my Stanley knife, I'm having to use my multi-tool. It's a lot easier. Just pace into that. Let's watch the cable. There we go, so we can terminate that end now. We're not going to terminate to this yet, because that'll mean this cable will be live. We're going to do that last, once we put the rest of the installing. So that's the starter battery side. That's ready to get fused up and connected to the live later on when we've done the leisure battery side in the back of the van. Looking at the cable sizes, I've got a 16mm cable in. Now I'm still going to fuse this. It's 40 amp for the DC to DC charger, so I'm going to put a 50 amp fuse in. Looking at this chart, you could get away with a 10mm and then fusing it at 40 amp. I'll be installing the 40 amp Renogy DC to DC charger, 12 volts to 12 volts. Now I'm installing this one now. The wiring and everything like that is exactly the same. It's just, if you have a Victron, the connections will be different, but you have the alternator side and you have the battery side, and you'll see how this is going to get installed today, and it'll go the same with every DC to DC charger you can get. Some of them have a smart alternator. Now if it has a smart alternator, there's a cable that goes from the DC charger to an ignition live. So as you turn the ignition, it lets the components know that you started the van. This comes with an extra lead, it just plugs in. It says ignition. Now the cable isn't long enough, but you can just extend that cable. Just getting the last bit of Copex on the business end, which is going to go through to my garage. This, you need to keep it straight to get it through. So what I do, put the end in, I hold it straight between my legs, feed it through. Once it gets going, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. It's just there, so I'll cut that back a little bit. This will isolate the starter battery from the DC charger. I want that as well for summer months. I don't want to put strain on the alternator and on the DC to DC charger if I don't need it. I've got a 410 watt solar panel there, so that will keep the battery topped up in summer months, so I can isolate it. Also, for when you're working on the install, there's a secondary battery there which you can isolate with a switch. There's my incomer from the front of the van, from where the starter battery is. I'm going to install this here, and then the DC to DC charger here. So this will isolate the DC to DC charger. Now you take these knockouts, just slide out the side, and then it doesn't matter which way you have it, it's just breaking the cable by the use of a switch. Looks like this is a 10mm knot. The lugs that I've got are an 8, so I'm going to put a 9mm bit through that to make that bigger, just because I cannot. I'd have to order them and wait until they turned up. Peugeot Expert has a 90 amp alternator in, so I wouldn't be able to have a 100 amp. I would be able to put 100 amp, but it wouldn't get the full 100 amp, and this is why I've got the lower wattage one, and this is why I want to be able to isolate it to stop putting toll on the 90 amp alternator of the van. So that's been fabricated so I can fit onto the 10mm threaded rod. So this is the incomer from the front of the car, front of the van, and then crimp it. So that's nice and tight. That's not pulling out. What we do now, I'm just going to put some black tape at the edge of that. It's got a few spiders' legs, which you don't want. So out of the other side of the switch, it'll go to a fuse which protects this side going to the leisure battery bit of cable and the DC to DC charger. Recap, the cable that comes into the leisure battery from the alternator from the starter battery is going into this, and then that's off, that's on, so we can isolate it easily. Now this will be going to the DC to DC charger. There we are, fixed onto there. Now this fuse size from the alternator will go to this terminal here. Both the negatives, both sides, will go to the negative of the buzz bar, which is connected to the earthing, the metal of the van behind here. So you can buy black stranded cable if you know the length of it, or just ID the phase up with black tape, so I know what's going where. Probably a lot better buying the actual black cable. Oh, now the negatives both go together in this negative block because that's earth to the van. It's just awkward, my van, because I can't really see anything until I get my head right in there. I'll be waiting at camera. Because we've got the isolation switch now, we could actually do in the starter battery, but we'll do that at the end of the video. So that's ready to go into the neutral. Make sure it's all the way in. See the copper that side. a means of crimping it. Solid. What I like to do with these snips, just put a nick in it that way. Just gives it that extra pull all the way through, just enough. And now I've got to tap this up black. Still got black cable. Now we've got the two negatives. It'll go to the negative bus bar, which is there. All these cables will be clipped correctly. Don't know what that's from, that's somewhat old that. Have that coming down and looping. So if anything happens, we've got quite a bit of cable to play with. Right now we can get proper torque settings, but I'm just going to do it at torque setting very, very tight. The last one will be the live to the battery, but my battery is fed to this buzz bar, so I'm just going to put a connection from the battery side of the DC to DC charger. I'm going to put it onto this. So the next thing to do is to put a fuse between the battery and the DC to DC charger. So I've got a 50 amp resettable which will isolate the battery. So if I press that, it takes the battery off the supply, put it back on. And we're back on. So a quick recap, it comes in from the starter battery, it goes to an isolator, then across into the plus of the DC charger, and then out of the other side, which goes to the battery. Mine goes to the buzz bar, and the buzz bar's connected from buzz bar to this 50 amp fuse switch, and then goes to the battery. Get all the covers back on, get these tied back nice and tidy, and then we'll go and do the front. To add, you can get the Bluetooth module for these, BT2 DC to DC module, so you can use it on your phone and it'll plug in the other side of here. So it does come with a battery thermometer, which that gets placed on top of the battery, which I'm going to do. And you'll be able to see the temperature of your battery through the app. I've got a Victron shunt, so I get most of my information from that. But whilst I'm here, I'm going to change this, what is it, 100 amp fuse. We're going to switch it for the 50s. I'll tighten them up. If the nut does come a bit loose. And there's a bit of Loctite on the nuts as well. And don't forget, if the videos help you out, stick us a thumbs up. I've just done the final bit, so that's a cable coming through from the back, from the DC charger, fused and across and onto your live terminal of your starter battery. So we'll get some readings on a 40 amp DC to DC charger.